It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Moriah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, BC. How are you?
Excellent morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What's happening?
Today is, I do this gratitude challenge.
Yes, every January.
Today is day 19, and I'm just grateful to God for my mental health.
Yeah.
With everything that's happening around, the strength that we still have, that we have not pulled our clothes, we are not in the hospital. It's enough to say thank you, Jesus. Just say thank you for the energy, the strength to still keep going, even when things are not working out the way you want them to work out. Because the truth is, we always like to share our sweet stories. But sometimes in the midst, before the sweetness comes, there's always this pain that you go through in business. There's always this process. There's always a dry time where things are not happening. Nobody's buying products and all that. But we don't share as much as those. We just wait till the memo happens and then we are shouting. So I'm just grateful for that process. I'm grateful for my ability to stay sane in the midst of everything that's happening.
Tivaris actually shared something about that, like yesterday or 2 days ago, said that he woke up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. American time, and he's just thinking he has done a training successfully for the past 4 years, and he always have, he has over 200 people subscribing, and this year, for the first time, only about 20 plus people subscribing. I was wondering, God, what message is this? What's happening? There are many success stories. Why is this happening? But what I liked is that he posted it, admitting that that it's not always perfect, even for the coach.
Yes. Yes,
so
we know the story.
It helps us grow.
How are you doing, Nima? I'm told your mic is off. Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Oh.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
So I guess we go straight into the paper review. Things we can't say hello to you, but you're good, yeah?
Yeah. Need
All
sleep. She had plenty sleep.
All right.
Anyway.
What's that? The traffic today?
No.
It was Bisola's birthday yesterday. We didn't say happy birthday.
We missed it.
Happy
All right,
birthday.
moving on. Let's start with The Nation. How governors foiled plot to scuttle APC convention. President to get reworked electoral bill this week. Niger on food sufficiency path, says Buhari. Transporters to pay 800 naira levy daily to Lagos State government. No decision yet on petrol subsidy removal by Lawan. Coalition begins lobby for Jonathan. And stock investors for terrorism link screening. Okay.
Yesterday, the president was at the unveiling of the Federal Capital Mega Rice Pyramid yesterday, and he says that we are on the path to food sufficiency. He lauded the Anchors Borers program, which is, of course, the program that best these pyramids that we're seeing. And he says that before we know it, with the launch of the rice pyramids and project in Lagos as well as Katsina, very soon, all states within Nigeria will be able to produce rice. He also talked about Nigeria being the largest rice producer in Africa. This I must commend him.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for the security issues that they have,
there will be more results.
These achievements, yes, would have come long ago. And I would have seen, I projected a drop in prices that it would be like pure water, everywhere. Because, a lot of farmers went into this. And he also talked about a lot of people looking into that area of agriculture because, of course, it's staple here. Everybody wants it. And, I must commend them.
Did you take that story now because you sell rice?
No, because yes, now they used to have 15 standard rice mills, and now they have about
over 50.
Over 50.
Which story? I was going to take the oil firms relocate offshore.
Really?
Oh, okay, no.
I have the story, please.
I guess you guys have taken all the story. You took my 800 naira story. You took off. Go ahead, Tope. Any
Petroleum,
story?
so the petroleum resources, Twin Piri Silva had mentioned earlier that the oil companies, the international oil companies are relocating out of Nigeria because of the pending law cases and all of that. So now they've come to explain that the reason they are leaving the onshore to offshore is because they feel like our local companies, our local operators have capacity now to do the onshore processing. That because before, the technology for onshore wasn't that spread everywhere, but that they can handle it. And since they can handle it, they are now moving offshore.
Okay,
yes,
so
I have
the stock investors.
Yes, I have it.
Go ahead.
So the Nigeria's Apex Capital Market Regulator, Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, yesterday directing all capital market operators to screen existing and potential clients for any possible link to proscribed groups under the federal government's official gazette on the proscription of banditry and other global sanction limits. So they are saying that investors are to undergo screening for any possible link to banditry and other terrorist activities. And if you're whether you are an international investor or a local investor, you must be screened. And they went ahead to mention some companies that are under their radar as terrorist groups, Yambinda Group and Yantada Group. They are saying that any activity with these companies are illegal and people must be very careful. So anytime you want to get into an investment, they're asking the capital market operators to screen the people that they're already dealing with to ensure that we're not moving money to fund terrorism.
All right, let me take the Senate president saying, Senator Lawan actually, saying that the president categorically told him that he has not told anybody to remove fuel subsidy. Now, that article was a bit bothersome because he agreed that subsidy was a burden. But according to him, we need to sit down together and do something because for him, he doubts the fact that we actually produce 100 million, consume 100 million barrels a day. Secondly, he also says that he doesn't want to carry the burden onto the people. So he's continuing the sentiment of we cannot remove subsidy because based on he has gone home to speak to his constituencies and they are saying that, you know, they are happy that the president has not categorically asked anybody, especially the Minister of Finance, to remove it. But I'd like to juxtapose that to the meeting that we had with Labour, which I'll say in the next paper. But according to him, he says that the Minister of Finance specifically said that they only budgeted for subsidy for the first 6 months in 2022. So afterwards, where are we going to get the money to fund subsidy?
I thought they said they didn't have money to pay the subsidy. Why are they... See, let them tell us the truth.
And they should also resolve the governors asking that the subsidy is being removed right from NNPC,
directly from source.
From source.
I don't even like the fact that he says we should come and sit down and do something. No,
yes, because
sit down. There's nothing.
There's no timeline.
You have nothing to say. Moving on now to the Punch. APC zones chairmanship seat to North Central, List Southeast for secretary. IPOP sit at home, ground Southeast, Kano trial holds today. NSCDC nabs 4 headsmen robbing travelers on Kwara Highway. No capital vote for NIPOST in 28 years. Presidency, wealthy aspirant will fail, Oshibajo best in APC, says ex-governor Aliyu. Nigerian-born Canadian minister suspended for using phone while driving. Labour lists conditions for fuel subsidy removal, says $9.5 billion wasted on refineries. And cash-strapped banks borrow $9.17 trillion from CBN in 7 months. Okay.
Let me quickly jump on the the Nigerian-born Canadian minister. So he was suspended, not for using phone while driving. He got a ticket for that, and he paid promptly. According to him, his name is Madu, Ekelechi Madu. And he said that this happened March 10, 2021. He was driving, he was pulled over, and he got a ticket. They insisted he was using his phone. He said the phone was in an in pocket, and he wasn't using it. So he contested that. But because he placed a call, which he said he placed that call for other reasons to the head of the police in Alberta, that's the state where this happened. And the call he placed was for a totally different reason, but he clashed with the time of that ticket. And so they're investigating that, and they've asked him to step aside while someone else takes over while he's investigated. So let's hear English. He was given a ticket, he paid. But he called while something like that was being investigated, and they're looking at the possibility of him trying to interfere with the justice or the investigations of it. Now, where system there shall be that. So that's how it is.
He was not,
he paid the ticket. He paid promptly.
Okay,
IPOB sit at home.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, it's still been ongoing. You know, we've had issues where IPOB is saying we've cancelled the sit at home, so we're just going to pray that Nnamdi Kanu is released. Some other hoodlums are hiding under that umbrella to cause mayhem. But they said the hoodlums suspected to be IPOB members stormed St. Teresa Catholic Church, Calcutta Parish, Awada. This happened in Onitsha, and think about 5:30 a.m. when they were about to start their morning mass. Everybody fled. They had to interrogate the parish priest for a few minutes, and then they had to drive him. Everybody left. They left. They saw, when they got to the street, they saw some people who were a keke napep driver who was trying to wait for passengers. They drove him out and burnt his vehicle. From state to state in Suka, I think about 2 people were killed. Everybody's just going in, enforcing the IPOB sit at home. And I'm worried because they had said that they had grounded their businesses for a long time, and they were just beginning to pick up. And I saw a video on social media a few days ago when the Abba, those people that make shoes, they were there saying that they are not doing any IPOB sit at home. They have to continue their businesses. So they need to come with one voice. Let's know if they're going to have this or not.
Let me stay on labor for a moment, because I mean, remember I was having the issue, because I was talking about the issue of subsidy earlier. Now, so I'm happy. I mean, I'm not a big fan of labor, but I think this meeting, they had an annual general meeting where all the key labor unions attended. So NLC was there, TUC was there, and a few others. And they had the meeting where, and I think the national president of the trade union, Quadri Olale, was speaking, reminding us, obviously, the fact that for the past 10 years, all our refineries do not work. 90 to 95% of refined products are imported. Those are data we already know. They use 9.5 billion for the turnaround maintenance. Yeah. But more importantly, what I actually liked about the article was that they specifically said, and let me quote, that they were not against removal of subsidy.
Okay.
Right?
Not against?
Interesting.
Interesting.
Now, according to it, as long as it yields positive results. You see, for the first time, I'm now getting clarity from Labour. So, according to Labour, they're saying a few questions must be answered.
Okay.
How can we trust government and be certain that they will actually remove it this time? Because you cannot remove what has you said I've removed in the past. Number 2, will there be construction and utilization of modular refineries, as the government has previously promised and failed to do? Will there be a rehabilitation of the existing moribund refineries? And what will government do to put an end to dependence on imported fuel? So what they are saying is that if you say that you're going to remove this subsidy, this money they're going to save, are you going to adequately use
them for
modular refineries?
Yeah.
You know, let us be specific and not promise us like you did before and don't do it. So I'm a bit clearer on what their grounds is.
Yes.
Because okay, I'm always very confused on what Labour, because I'm more impressed with Labour than what I've heard from the Senate President saying, let's discuss and do something. Don't you know about the sentiment of the sentiments of you can't put the burden of labor of subsidy on the people.
When did they start thinking about the people? Let's move on. Because
let's go on a break. You have a story in front?
Yes.
Quickly, please.
NSCDC were able to catch 4 headsmen, Fulani Bororo headsmen that were attacking a Sienna bus. The Sienna bus was attacked by a group of armed robbers, and immediately a phone call was placed with the help of the Nigerian vigilante, the vigilante group of Nigeria, as well as the local hunters. They were able to go into the forest and found 4 of these men, profiled them right, and said that they are working on catching other suspects that were involved in this attack. The substances that were robbed was also recovered, so it was a clean case.
Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we continue with the review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We'll move on to Daily Sun. National Assembly dumps plan to override Buhari revisits electoral bill. Kano, IPOB ground southeast as Zekome joins defense team. Anxiety as Abia court delivers judgment on IPOB leader today. FG launches rice pyramids, promises drop in price. Hadiza Uthman denies non-remittance of NPA's 40 billion naira, $921.61 million, and others. Kidnapping, Oyo CP visits flashpoints on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And President Buhari commissions patrol vehicles, equipment purchased by the NPTF for police. Interesting, it was only son that carried that paper with the police. But all right, let's take any story. Let me take the,
okay.
Go ahead.
Anxiety. So the court is going to be delivering judgments today on the case from, let me use the way they pronounce it, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, to the government. So there was an attack on his home, September 17th, September 2007, by the Nigerian government. They are also seeking that there should be penalty against the government for the human, the fact that they contravened his human rights, said they had no right to visit his house. So the Nigerian government has illegally, unlawfully, unconstitutionally, and this amounts to infringement of his fundamental rights to life, dignity of his person, his personal liberty, and fair hearing, in arresting him in Kenya, identifying him and illegally, unlawfully bringing him into Nigeria. So all of these issues that are linked with his constitutional rights have been brought to court in Abia State. It's been in court for a long time, and there's anxiety because today will be the day they'll be delivering judgment on what happened. All right.
I was going to take the Commissioner for Police, Ngozi Onadeko. Remember Ngozi? So she visited the flashpoints in the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Remember, yesterday I took the stories of all the major issues, kidnapping happening in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And she went to the flashpoints, which are Ogumaki, Onigari, and Ishara, all in Ogun State. And she went there unannounced. And she, according to her, they already have police that were already assigned within those axes to ensure safety. So she went there to ensure the safety of lives of the people. She told them that this is not just show off. This happens every day. That the security personnel have been allocated across the expressway, and citizens should feel safe. So she assured Nigerians that the exercise would not be one of, as I said, called for calm, especially as many travelers are very apprehensive of traveling within the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
I'm really happy about this because sometimes we also need to see the physical presence of our leaders, saying that we are saying to the matter. I'm really happy.
But I would have loved, interestingly, no other paper took the story about the president commissioning petrol vehicles. 200 of them were, I didn't really read the story. Patrol vehicles for the police. Really interesting. Wow. Moving on quickly to the Nigerian Tribune. Terrorism, Niger communities hit 50 times this month, says governor. Ozekome to lead Kanu's defense team. Lagos bus drivers to pay 800 naira each daily to the government from February. 12 died in Ondo, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway accident. Buhari didn't direct petroleum subsidy removal, says Senate President. And political elite, the elites eager for Buhari's departure from office, wants access to public funds, says presidency. Right.
So the governor of Niger State went to see the president yesterday, and he was talking about the security situation in Niger State. He said in 2022, just less than 2 weeks in the year, Niger State had over 50 times attacks across the country. 300 communities were attacked within Niger State, 200 people kidnapped, including 3 Chinese nationals. And he said, you know, some of the reasons, they are a very large of land, I think. I hope I'm not quoting wrongly. They have 9 million hectares of land in Niger State, and they share border with Kaduna and Zamfara and Kebbi State. And because, you know, the bandits, they hide in the forest and, you know, along the borders, their state remain exposed and porous to, you know, attacks, and constantly happening. But he said with the president, they reviewed the situation, and that relief is coming very soon, that, you know, things are definitely going to improve within Niger State. I'm hoping as well, because 50 attacks in this January that have not reached, you know, ending.
So Lagos State government on Tuesday announced the introduction of a consolidated informal transport sector levy, 800 naira daily, to be paid by each bus driver. The initiative is going to be starting off February 1st, and this is just to harmonize the taxes paid by transporters into the state government. They're saying that with that 800 naira, that means you'll be paying like 288 naira annually into the coffers of government. And they had to carry out an independent research which found that Lagos State alone used to generate 125 billion annually from collection of levies. So I think this is a good development. 800 is as against 3,000 because all the levies that they pay, the bus drivers, they pay up to 3,000 naira daily. So with this 800, it will reduce. But my fear now is because the NURT chairman came out to say that this does not remove the payment that will be done to the agberos. So the 800 goes into the state coffers, but the agberos will likely still collect something. So I am thinking if there's a way they can put a benchmark to what the agberos will collect daily to minimize that amount so it doesn't get up to that 3,000 naira.
Let's put names to what they charge. So the NURT have their daily charges. And what they pay to those agberos, the agberos is the system where the NURT and the RT get the funds. Okay. That's how the system that they apply. And this has been largely abused, so we cannot even pretend. But the Lagos State 800 is for 3 things. It's for Loma within the parks. Okay. It's for a percentage is for LASEPA. I think the third one is for, I can't remember exactly, but these monies are portioned for some purpose. Yes, LIRS. So we know that, the use of the garages and the maintenance of it is huge. Yeah. And whatever they take for RT and NURT is not what they used to maintain. In fact, you see this, the government has to always come, build their private public toilets, maintain. So somebody has
in addition, I think what the Commissioner for Finance said that I thought was really interesting. He said that the Consolidated Informal Transport Sector Levy was adopted not just to harmonize the levy collection, but to reduce the multiplicity of taxes, have a reliable database of transporters, and eradicate undue harassment of drivers.
And they'll be given tax cards.
They'll be given tax cards. So they want to have a database. So we know where you are per time, which is important.
So but what we do not know is that whether they'll be paying it daily on that card or they can calculate whatever or pay it monthly or annually. So that we like it tidy.
Because they earn daily, it's easier to pay daily. Yeah. I want to take the reports on the NPA. We'll be following the story. Adiz Husman, the suspended managing director of Nigerian Port Authorities, gave a press release saying that she didn't want to first speak about it. But when it came to our attention that on Tuesday morning, a lot of people were sending her messages saying that the NPA audit indicts Hadiza Bala Husman for not remitting 40 billion naira, and that what she knew was in the reports from the Auditor General was that terminal operators, monies from terminal operators were owed to the federal account, that she needed to just speak up because it seems like the entire story was meant to tarnish her image because she expected that the current NPA system would have released a press release specifying this and this is what happened. So she's now forced to do that, saying on no account did the audit say she was culpable or she took the money. That if there was any money not remitted, it is definitely going to be in the TSA, which is the Treasury single account. So there is no corruption that is alleged by the stories being pushed out.
So this is extremely important, and I do not expect that she's the one having to talk by herself. So she was allowed to supposedly set aside, and somebody acted in acting capacity so that they can investigate this. By now, somebody should come and tell us. She take money, she not take her. But now that she's saying, I didn't take, and there's no money missing, somebody should then come and say, we made a mistake.
We did money not a loss.
No, you don't have to even reinstate, but clear her name. Don't leave her name in chat.
That's the Nigerian factor, right?
Because now say women.
Because they think that they are doing,
they're doing you a favor.
You've been reprimanded for something you did. So they'll just leave it to
just leave it like that. No.
Our final paper, we can't take it. Vanguard. But let me just take the headline. Stay at home enforcers wreak havoc in Southeast. No poll time table till electoral bill is signed into law, says INEC. Okay. That's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we move on to the hot topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So the Senate yesterday was reviewing the possibility of reducing or stopping the continuous payment of tenants. They pay a year to landlords request that tenants pay 1 year in advance or 2 years in advance in some cases. And the bill has passed the first reading and it's been debated on the floor. I would like to hear your thoughts on it, because the proposal is that tenants be asked to pay 3 months ahead, after which they'll then pay monthly. So Nigerians are saying, is this appropriate? Are we mature enough as an economy, as a country, to employ this option, which we've seen work in all parts of the world? What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on the numbers on your screen so that we can hear your thoughts on this. This issue of tenancy, landlord, what are your, I mean, let's start with Tokwe, since this is your industry.
Yes, it is.
And let me see your thoughts, your thoughts on this, because many Nigerians have complained of the multiple payments they need to make at different rates. And some are saying now that the middle class is growing, there was a time where it was high and low. But now the middle class bracket is growing. Many people can now, it's expanding. Many people can now afford monthly. They can do the car note. People are paying cars and are paying monthly. And they said, okay, why don't we then accept or widen up that bracket for landlords too? So what are your thoughts? Does this pay your industry, or do you think it's not time for it?
So this is very similar to the story of NLC asking some pertinent questions before the government makes a life-changing decision.
Right.
And I am in this industry in real estate, and I would say that the government needs to answer a lot of pertinent questions before they make this decision. The housing sector is largely funded by private individuals, who, most of them, spend their entire life saving money to build houses with the hope that this will be their retirement plan, to feed themselves when they can no longer work. Most houses being built are not funded by the government, or the mortgage system in the country isn't working. So private funds are used to provide housing, and then you are regulating how I would manage my resource without you impacting or influencing how I got to that point in the first place is wrong. But let's say the government has the interest of the entire citizenry, and they might feel a few people called landlords are making life difficult for majority people called tenants. I'm a tenant, So from the tenant perspective, it will be convenient for me to pay monthly. But how many people will actually keep to paying that rent monthly? What is this structure on ground? What law is on ground that would ensure the easy eviction of any defaulter? Because Lagos State already has that, is already putting that law into place. The federal government is considering this. Have they put that same structure into place? Because you cannot be legislating on my resources without you implementing ways to ensure that you protect my investment. Right. That is the core question that needs to be answered.
So people will tell you that, as I said, there are car loans right now. People are, you buy not car loans, the mortgage, car mortgage system is currently running, where you buy a car and you pay monthly. So there's a system in place to protect and ensure the company who owns the car gets his money. That's one. And secondly, also, you talked about somebody's life savings. So if my father has a house and he's a landlord, he built this house with his sweat. So the question is, would he rather collect his money annually in bulk, or every month at least, instead of his children sending him money every month, consistently I'm getting a certain amount of money for my upkeep as a 70-year-old man? At least, isn't that better for you, do you think?
Mariah, Nigerians do not have the integrity to pay monthly yet. No, please, I'm talking from a landlord's perspective now. That's 1 year or 2 years that you manage to collect. To collect the subsequent ones is a battle. It's mostly a battle, because people have the mindset that once I can gather this and pay, I don't have any plans. You see them doing things. You see them having naming ceremony and throwing parties and killing cows in the same compound and buying cars in the same compound, and they are not paying their rents. So I would say that we do not have the integrity to maintain this right now. We do not have the system for it. But there was something that caught my attention in the post, which says many landlords did not secure loans to build their houses. They are products of free money they acquire from the system. Yet they make life difficult for poor Nigerians who do not have such privilege of making ill-gotten money from the system and put up structures. So the assumption is that everybody who has a house has gotten the money from an illegal source. I think the government should sit up and do what they need to do. First of all, in those other countries that we like to copy, so to speak, they provide systems, they provide housing for their people, affordable housing for their people, so that if you're a working class person, you can either take a mortgage, you can get a loan, or you can pay monthly. If you don't want that type of government housing, then you go to a private person to get their houses. You pay and follow the terms of the agreement. That's the way it's supposed to be. Give people that option. For those who want to pay yearly, for private people, fine. But you as a government, ensure
that you give affordable housing to your people so that they have options. That's one. So to assume, I built my own first house over 8 years of not going on vacation, not living the life that I wanted to live, squeezing, we buy this block today, we buy cement tomorrow, gathering everything to build, and now it's now a form of business or another source of income for me where monthly I expect something to come in, or yearly I expect something to come in, and you are telling me how to manage it. Meanwhile, I still have a problem of asking people to pay me for the one that they are staying already.
Wait.
And you are not doing any system to protect me.
I hear that. But imagine you have a tenant. Let's not generalize, as you said earlier. Imagine you have a tenant who is a working class, works at a nice multinational company, and he or she earns monthly salary. And as he's paying his car, he's saying, okay, BC, I pay you monthly, and you then can plan, because I know I have a consistent monthly payment. You don't have to worry about salary from anywhere. So the annual one, the issue why you have somebody pay year 1 and year 2 and they disappear, because sometimes it's very difficult. But if you know that you have a job and you're consistently getting every month, it's not easier, it's not beneficial to you as a landlord owner.
No, it's not beneficial to me because you're supposed to save. Okay, so what happens is I had a police officer who was staying in my compound formerly. She plans her monthly rent from the beginning. She saves it, she takes it away, she keeps it, and I never had one day to ask her, you have not paid me. She pays on time because she plans it. The problem we have with Nigerians is because they feel it's not their own, they don't put those plans in place. They plan their money for something else.
Okay, let me come to Nima. Your thoughts on this?
There are a lot of things I would love in this act if it becomes law. You know, on this bill, if it becomes law. As Tokwe said, these are people's investments. If you are not going to secure that investment, don't, you know, legislate upon it.
Yeah.
But I've seen tenants. I also live in a house where I can boast of something. 2 people, different lifestyle. I have one who, even upon the littlest of they will knock and say, I'm owing you this. For security level, this is it.
Pay this.
And I have another one who, just give me 2 months more. You know? 2 different people. So that's why I say you can't use a general rule. So what you do is that, because you know this is prone to abuse, you know, depending on a person's predisposition to things or their view to life, they might want to abuse. You put checks in place to curb it. So if I take my rent monthly, and you can even allow a tenant decide what they want to do. So a tenant can say, government has legislated that this should be monthly, but I cannot do monthly because I know someone who puts aside every year, and you know it's until a year that she can, you know, take that fund to pay. So allow tenants also decide, make it flexible, but allow them use whatever method works for them. Then put checks in. Is it all going to be okay now? Because the rule is that a tenant's rent becomes due. The tenant is allowed as what we call
6 months.
No, legal tenants. As you come under, I'm trying to remember the legal term, where they get a 6 months grace to use the property. You then have to give them that notice before you can go to court, and you have to wait until a court order to evict them.
6 months.
So is government going to now legislate upon that rule so that we have new system where as soon as you default like this,
just be going
3 weeks. Outside.
3 weeks, yes.
But so there's something called the greater good, because if we look at the number of landlords versus tenants, landlords are much smaller than these people that want to benefit from this system, because as I said, a lot of young people would like to get rent. Maybe not the married couple that is a bit more established, but a single young person who wants to just start off.
With gathering.
I would like to pay monthly because I'm working, I'm just building my capacity. So how do we ensure that every group of citizens can fit into this system, that it will beneficial for most people, not just a little? Because right now it's only landlords that benefit from 1 year, 2 years.
Landlords.
It's an exchange of value.
Wait, because you're talking investment, it's not only the landlords who benefit from the 1 year, it's the agents who now act as lawyers and take everything. So
That's
maybe a rent
angle.
is 700. The agent will now put another 700. They'll tell you it's clinical.
It's 10% now.
No, what are you saying?
10%.
No, the experience is different. No, they don't stick to that. They don't stick to it. It's no longer a rule that, you know, it has to be 10%. So that you're looking for a rent you can afford, that you have already calculated the 10% yourself, but the agent is coming and saying there's damages.
Oh, yeah, there's damages.
It's no longer 10%.
Which one is damage?
It's not double.
If you damage,
because landlord is
they will refund
silent.
you.
Yes.
People who are not in any way responsible for how this property is are making money off. They're middlemen.
Yeah.
So they make it tougher.
That's another issue.
So if government must legislate on this, they should sit well and do it proper investigation because legislate so that you are covering both sides.
Yeah.
Sadly, not inconveniencing anybody.
I must acknowledge that we must acknowledge the obvious fact that all our lawmakers are currently not tenants. While they might in Abuja
are you generalizing?
While they might be tenants in Abuja because maybe they are temporarily in Abuja, but most of them own their houses and their landlords.
I would like to make that kind of assumption. I would say it's a very safe one.
So I would like what I would like
It's a safe generalization.
What I would like is for them for us to have like this open conversation with tenants who, and I'm a tenant, I would not lie about that, that they would explain where it is pinching them most. You might realize that the annual rent might not be their biggest problem. It might be that all these additional fees they have to pay are their biggest problems, and that might be the one you need to remove. Number one. Number two, you need to go on the break and come back.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing this issue of tenancy. Should we pay annually or monthly? And I have Richard from Port Harcourt. Richard, are you there? Hello, Richard.
Hello?
Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, ladies. How are you today?
Good.
Doing amazing.
All right, great. So, first of all, my point of view is that you see this conversation, I don't know, the legislators, they seem not to really understand what their job is. And they seem not to really get what they are supposed to be legislating upon. You see, as far as this matter is concerned, it's completely outside their jurisdiction. It is supposed to be a state affair because according to the Land Use Act of 1978, which vests the land on land by extension real estate to the state governors, right? This is actually a state legislation. It is the individual state legislators that is supposed to be legislating upon this particular matter. Now, what I actually expect them to be legislating upon will be on affordable housing, you know, as it concerns the general populace. You have the Federal Mortgage Bank. So one would expect that they could legislate on increasing the number of years to pay back federal mortgage loans, right? From, I think, about, 25 years, they can increase it to about 30, 40 years. Number two, they can also legislate on reviewing the percentage. Currently, the Federal Mortgage Bank loan is at 6%. They can further reduce it to, say, between 4 to 5%. And they can actually make it so that it is affordable, even for young people. They can even make special provisions for maybe young school leavers, you know, or people who are just settling down.
Right.
They can have a law for that.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I know that the Minister, Honorable Fashola, had at some point said that they had built houses across the country. But obviously, where people want to live in the cities, there are no spaces there. So they're built in the outskirts. And nobody wants to go there because we all want to live in the city of Maitama. We want to live in the Lagos Island. We want to live where everybody is. And there are no lands there. So according to what they said is that there are houses. Because if you go to Abuja, for example, you just see houses built, empty. Nobody wants to live in there.
Yeah, so I don't think people don't want to live there. Because if you go to a place like Abuja and you stay in the outskirts, you have more peace. You have fresh air. So people who are becoming aware understand that these are the places to even live. But the jobs are not there. The factories are not there. The companies are not there. People are working and people want to live closest to their offices or where they are working. So before you build houses all over the place, find out the needs of the people. We keep saying this. It seems like they're not paying attention to the needs of the people. So you sit down on your table and you feel this will work for this person without going to the streets to ask questions on what are your needs. What would you like
people need
us to do for you?
So
That's one part. Hold on,
yes.
that's one part. Secondly, I wanted to touch on the fact that not everybody earns monthly. There are people who do businesses who do not get their monies monthly. What do you plan to do for such people? There are people who get their money at the end of the year, in the middle of the year, anytime. What are some of the things you put in place for those people to pay monthly if they do not earn monthly?
The businessmen abroad too. How do they pay their own monthly for their mortgages?
Concerning the question you asked.
No, we choose when to be abroad. We always choose. We compartmentalize today. You think in the abroad is how they do it. Sometimes they say we don't choose abroad. Let us agree what we want.
But you know what I've already said that we should domesticate our solutions.
Okay. Let me come to this. Good morning. Are you there? I think I have a caller. Ademola.
Yeah, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
My contribution is just this.
Up.
In the country where there's no provision. Hello, can you hear me?
Not very loudly, but if you can increase the volume a bit, I would appreciate it. Yes, now I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
I said in the country where there's no provision for housing. Now we're talking about people that are working, that's working class. Hello?
Go on.
Hello?
We can hear you, Ademola. Please listen to me, not the team.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes. I said in a country where we were talking about the working class now. Yes. What about people that are not working? Yeah. They are not paid on salary. How do you want them to fit in paying their house rent? That's one. The government making laws on people's property and not able to provide for the population. I believe what they're just doing is just paperwork. Yeah.
Again, so if you don't work, come to talk about you don't work, but you want government to provide somehow for you to make a. I don't know.
So
your
question on what the minister said, Honorable Fashola, the truth of the challenge in the housing sector is that people can live 2 hours from the city if the road is good.
Yeah.
If the road is good, they would get to the city.
Yes.
If there is train, they know from their house there's 30 minutes to the train. In 1 hour, they're in the city. People live in Connecticut and they work in New York. People live in other places and they work in. So it is not about building houses. When you build a house and the road network to the city center, where you know the jobs are not good, it must work hand in hand.
Yeah.
That is very important. Also is the fact that when we talk about the issue of maybe, people are not doing monthly work, most of the power we are paying, power bills we are paying now, we are paying on a consumer basis. So imagine you say, I'm an entrepreneur, I don't have money right now. Then you will live without power in your house. So I understand that policies might not be comfortable in the beginning, but it will force us to become more disciplined in our lifestyle. What I believe is the real concern is let us deal with other issues, the other questions that are also very pertinent to the policy working, so that we don't just sign a paper into law that is unimplementable.
So I wanted to answer that the Abuja example does not fit well.
The what?
Abuja example. Okay. So we have houses in the inner Abuja that's extremely expensive and people can't afford them, even on a monthly rent basis. So the outer area, the Buhari, Kubwa, they're so congested. People are struggling to live there because that's where housing is affordable. That's the reality of Abuja when I was there. And what Tokwe talked about is what we can also do. Let this access road or, train and all of that. People live in Alagbado and they work on the island. Yes. I know someone who takes the train every day to Yaba where he lectures and goes back to Alakuko where he lives. So this can work if we do the road network. I think government is already on track doing that. There's also a point I wanted to say earlier. Let
me take Ade, I'll come back. Ade, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
But I can hear you. My contribution is this. I believe that the yearly payment is okay for Nigeria for this reason. For example, if I give you a house and you pay me 3 months, and the third month, or maybe the fourth month, or let's say the third month before it expires, there's a COVID, there's a lockdown for 6 months, for 1 year. So that's an excuse. So for me, not to get any rent. But if you are paying for 1 year, and they say there's COVID, there's lockdown for 6 months, already I've collected my 1 year. I'll be praying for my tenant for the lockdown to be lifted so he can go back to job. So before the 1 year runs out, I get my rent. So they can't compare the way we are paying rent here to the one in Nigeria. Here, your job is guaranteed, and you get it. So weekly, you pay your rent.
So I understand.
Whenever you fail to pay your rent, you know the next day what is going to happen. You go to court.
You see, that's a Nigerian story right there. You're very correct, Mr. Adid. I mean, that's one perspective. But the truth is, it's difficult to change a habit that you're so used to. We're also used to paying 1 year, 2 years. But many people don't understand how convenient it might be. Because for example, there are ways that you're cash strapped. All the money you have to save, collect money from uncle, auntie, everybody, because you want to pay 1 year. But you're earning 300,000 naira a month, for example. And then you spread out your payments. You're paying 150 for a car. Exactly. You're paying 100,000 naira for. We're not selling houses to everybody. We're not selling houses to everybody. It's not everybody that can afford a house. Let's just be clear. Even in the abroad, it's not everybody that has a house.
But everybody needs shelter.
Everybody needs shelter. That's where government comes in. But the point we're trying to make is that if they say that everybody should be allowed to pay monthly at their convenience, my question is, are you sure it's not beneficial to the tenant? More in this situation, are we looking at it from the eyeglass of the tenant, not the landlord?
I would not like monthly at their convenience. I would like at the end of the month, because monthly at their convenience, it may not be convenient for me January. It's convenient February. It may not be convenient March. It's convenient April. No. At the end, hold on. At the end of the month, if you guarantee me that there is a system in place that will ensure that everybody pays as at when due. Why not? The reason why most people decided to build, I'm not talking about the people who stole money to build now, people who gathered their life savings to build, is because they wanted something they can fall back on. Yes. And when it comes monthly, it's very beneficial.
Exactly.
But the reason they started collecting it a year or 2 years is to protect themselves from the Nigerians.
Thank you. So my point is that, if just like we all agree, if I create a system to ensure that you get your monthly, it's beneficial to everybody.
Why
because
not?
You are collecting monthly. I am in America. My father is 80 years old. He's collecting his rent monthly. That's why we have NIN to
There's a question from one of our viewers. He said, the proposed monthly rent issue, is government going to be collecting levies monthly as well? That means she's talking about land use charge and taxes and all of that.
And those are state issues. We'll talk about that.
Because these are charges taken annually. So if you start, are they going to now factor it so that because the landlord has to pay? The landlord also has his cost that he has to bear.
True. Also, so as our last caller said, there's a state issue and a federal issue. So we don't know.
Even this one
is it within the jurisdiction of the federal? There's something we can discuss later. Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still discussing this issue of tenancy, paying 1 year or paying monthly. And Nima was going to say something before the break.
No, I was talking about, the other costs that the landlord has to bear, and there are many. Also, the landlord has to think of the cost of evicting a tenant. So government must put that in place. A landlord wants to evict a tenant, the minimum is 100K. That's what I would charge. Minimum, if I know you before. So you have to go to court. You have to wait the entire process. A landlord who then has to wait 8 months with the justice system that we have. How do you factor it into, deciding on a monthly rent? Do you go back to the old system where you make sure that, or would there be a system where this is deducted at source for a working tenant?
That's what I know.
If it did.
People who have paid for cars, I know that they take it from source. There's a direct link between your employer, the bank that is supporting you, because they have all your documentation. So they know, even when you're fired, the employer lets them know that this person is no longer working with us. So they call you for a meeting. That, okay, how do we restructure this payment plan? What do we do?
But
most of Nigeria people are under informal markets. Like the larger population do not have
it's not those that are talking to for Lando, for monthly payments.
But you cannot remove them because they are the larger population.
So the larger population, therefore, there's a totally different system that has to be played, which is where government provides housing.
Have they provided it?
So when we talked about it, this thing can be argued from different angles. Because government will tell you that I trust me, Mr. Fashola, we'll start giving you the address. Okay, go to Kiniko, I have 300 housing. Go to Kiniko, I have 500. He will tell you.
Yeah.
But why are people not living there? We talk about transportation.
Yes.
So,
I think that the government may not be able to handle this now. We like to take on so much, and then we are drowning, and we're not seeing the impact of what we're supposed to be handling. The government cannot ensure this sort of system where they deduct from source right now. They have issues with their platforms, and they can't. Let them just leave this matter for private people and sort out their people by providing affordable houses. When we have enough affordable houses, and people who have big eyes decide to leave that government affordable house to a private property, then you follow the terms for now.
I have to wrap up. Let me take Godwin, are you there?
Just take this.
Hello, Godwin, you're live. Go ahead, please. Godwin?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, you're live. Go ahead,
morning.
please.
Good morning.
Yeah, so my name is Godwin from Fadi. I'm the CEO of Gap Real Estate.
Okay.
So I've been listening. I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
So I've been listening. So I've been listening to a discussion about tenancy agents and rent paying monthly. And sincerely, it will not favor landlords if they continue to collect monthly. Because, I'm an agent and I understand what some landlords go through. So if they pay lower rent, like monthly rent, it will not be sufficient for what they want to do at that moment. Some landlords used to endure till a year, hoping that they are going to get bulk of money and they use it for the necessary things that they want to do. So even some tenants themselves, some don't even have the money to pay monthly. And in the aspect of even electrical bills, they cannot pay monthly. Some they owe. We are not talking about rent. They want to pay rent monthly. It's not possible. And again, in the issue of agency, commission, and everything and so on, they say the agent, sometimes they used to accuse agents that the one that increased the landlord. I'm telling you now that the landlords, they are aware of everything that is happening. The issue of the agency agreement, they are the ones that set the standard, not the agent. They said that this is what I want there. At the end of it all, if they are collecting 10% for ₦1 million, maybe 10% is 100,000 or 150,000. The agent or the landlord will even touch from the commission that they are going to give the agent. From the 150,000, they can give an agent 20,000 to 40,000. And people need to believe that
let's talking about the issue of the agency. Let's take a few more messages. Thank you, Mr. Godwin.
Anybody says this rent payment, from what I heard, is not a general law. It's like a support fund for people in rent payment. Please review this bill again. The monthly rent payment is not a general bill or the law. It says that we shouldn't misinform. Winnie says.
Okay, let me address that. So when we're discussing an issue, with hearing Nigerians' views on this matter. If indeed they want to do a law or want to pass for second reading and make it a proper law, we're just saying, what are your thoughts? The show is about your view. What are your views concerning the possibility of this, that Senate might legislate on the fact that people should pay monthly versus paying annually? It's a conversation. Go ahead.
Winnie says, this issue is not important at all in my view. They should rather check the alarming continuous increase on house rents, even in remote areas. How can a two-bedroom apartment be given 500,000 inside Ikorodu? Amodu says it's better paid yearly. This helps against unforeseen impeachments and helps proper planning.
Isiak Bere says the lawmakers should be debating issues on how to tackle insecurity in the country, because if there's no security, there will be no structure or house left for a landlord to be talking about rent collection.
Let me take this. Emmanuel, are you there? Emmanuel, you're live. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, you're live.
Okay. I want to quickly say, any business you must pay tax to the government. So, a business, all these landlords have been collecting money, and most tax that they even pay for the rent that they have been collecting. Personally, I won't pay. If you ask to pay 1.5, because it gives me a better breathing space. But that's for me. Other people might not be able to have. But I think laws are made to shape the
society.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Emmanuel. I'm really having trouble hearing
Emmanuel
you.
was saying that, how many of these landlords pay their taxes on those properties. But that is not, the reality. I know my landlord pays. Musa says we should be responsible. Yes, we should be responsible in this country. Why should any government impose such laws without subsidizing living standards?
All right, we have to wrap up on this, but I think...
What about teachers who sometimes have not earned salaries? Where are they supposed to pay from? There are people who, get sacked in their offices, and before you take a few months before you get another job. How are they supposed to pay? So we need to factor all of this in. But if you've planned from the beginning, you've set out money to pay for a year or 2 years, and before your rent is over, you would have found a way to, bounce on your feet. So for some people, setting out certain amount of money for rents, lights, bill, and all those things, some people do it monthly and yearly, and it's better for them. So they take that out, and then they're focusing on school. You still have school fees to pay, which is termly. You have other bills to pay. So it just takes away that I'm not thinking of rent till a few months' time.
Right, we have to wrap up. But see, we Nigerians must remind ourselves that the truth is that economy is evolving, our people are evolving, and even the fact that the middle class is getting bigger. There are more people who are working and who are able to be entrepreneurs. So as the system is building in that situation, we need to now begin to reformulate systems that work for everybody else. Yes, there'll be those at the ground level who might not still be able to afford, but there's a huge group of people that are able now to have a car, they want to have a house. And I think what I see the government doing is that providing options for these people. Yes, the guys are still at the ground. Those ones still need help. But the middle class that is growing, we're saying, let's give them options. Must we compel them to pay an annual fee? Must we compel them to pay an annual? Let us see how we can increase that bracket. I think that's what I see here. But as you rightly said, even if they're doing that, let's ensure that we protect the landlord and also ensure that money is paid at the time that it is due. So everybody's happy.
Yes.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring in our guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we have on the show a friend of the house, a social entrepreneur, an agribusiness lecturer at the University of Maryland, College Park in the USA, Mrs. Tokwe Fajingbesin Balogun. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
She'll be discussing the imperative of having a resilient spirit and most appropriate ways of responding to difficult times. We're so happy to have her here on the show with us.
Thank you.
Good to have you. So before we even go into the issue of resilience, I wanted you to touch on this issue of landlord, because I know you live abroad.
Yes.
I know you also have properties in Nigeria before you left.
Yes.
And what's your experience like home and abroad in tenancy, paying monthly or annually? What do you think is most appropriate at this time, do you think?
I don't think either should be legislated.
Okay.
Because I think the government cannot pick and choose how they want to respond to this housing crisis. In America, for example, where I live, we pay monthly. However, somebody can refuse to give me their house if I have a bad renting history. So how do I, as a Nigerian landlord, know your rental history? Also, the second point is, if somebody defaults abroad, and it's because of economic reasons, they can decide to apply for a housing voucher. So the government starts to pay me, the landlord, most of the rent as soon as that approval is done. Is that going to be done? Because if you tell a landlord that they should, take a risk on me and they don't have any records, they don't have any recourse, what happens to that landlord if that is their means of survival?
That goes to the system we were talking about earlier. That before you start saying you want to pay monthly, let it be a system to protect all the parties.
Absolutely.
I think you've totally answered that question. All right. So let's talk about resilience.
Yes.
People go through difficult times. I think we talked about it very recently. How Nigerians, sometimes a lot of pressure. And they seem, especially with the different angles to this, especially with the children we're raising today. They are so spoiled. They don't enter buses. They don't do anything. They are kept. They are, they're drinking cereal for breakfast, sausages for lunch, spaghetti for dinner. They just so
soft.
I mean, yeah, they don't have that resilience. So how do we, especially when you hit the rocks as an adult, what can we begin to do to build resilience, not just in children, but in ourselves?
So I have 13 nieces and nephews. And the ones that are old will tell you that, they will say something to you. If you ask that question, they'll say, the future belongs to the hungry. And if you ask them where they heard it from me. I've been saying it since they were little, because the future really does belong to the hungry. I lecture at the University of Maryland, and a lot of Nigerian parents send their kids to the University of Maryland. And it's so easy to see a Nigerian child, book smart, they are very brilliant, but they're not resilient. They can't handle even the tiniest racism. They've never worked. And mommy falls on hard times in Nigeria, the pocket money dries up, they flunk. So I think we need to start raising our kids, especially those of us who have that luxury of you take your kids abroad. Nigerians need to stop bringing their kids abroad and going to Disney World. You need to stop bringing your kids abroad and going to the mall.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, where should we go?
Take your kids to where the Oyibo people take their kids when you are there in July and August. They're in camp.
Oh, boot camps.
And they're working. And they're doing things that are building their character.
Their minds.
They're learning how to use their hands. They're learning, science things. They're learning how to be a mechanic. They're learning how to farm. They're learning how to shop and how to sell. How to be marketers.
But shouldn't there be a balance? Because what I know, I'm not talking generally now, but I know some parents who, we do boot camps. My kids have gone to boot camps where they have to. My daughter can make her hair, she makes hairs, she does, they've started doing businesses in little ways. They are doing coding and all, they do that. But at some point, I said, okay, let them go and see and have fun.
Absolutely.
Would I be judged for that?
No, you shouldn't be judged for that. But what I'm saying is that don't make your holiday about a holiday.
Okay.
Think about the typical Nigerian family. They're in America for maybe 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And what part of that experience is a learning experience? My nieces and my nephews, they know when they enter my house, there are 3 things you get. The first thing is a bowl that is your color. So if I see it in the sink, you're in trouble. The second one is a cup. That is your unique color as well. The third one is a notepad. At the end of every day, you must write about your day. And you must also debrief me on the news. I want to hear about economics, about sports, about entertainment, and everything that would improve your
At what age? At what age?
Well, the youngest started when he was, I think, 6.
Wow.
Yes.
We need to work on the matter.
Because the truth of the matter is that this is what Oyibo people do. It's so unfortunate that I won't say this in English. I don't know how to say it in English. But we're just there, we're just babying kids. And we're hovering. I always say that Americans raise their kids this way. When they're born, it's like learning how to swim. They put the baby in the pool. The baby flutters, and the baby tries to drown, they pull it out and put the baby back again until the baby stabilizes. Nigerians, on the other hand, that have small change, we put the baby on our back. For 21 years, we're going lap to lap, lap to lap, lap to lap. Then at 21, we say, oh yeah, swim now, and the child will drown. We're not building tough people. And I understand that, Nigeria is dangerous. So you can't just send your child like when we were young that, I will enter bus. You can't, you can't do that now. But then you have to improvise. You have to find a way.
Thank you, because I really want us to drive this conversation home. So yes, we understand we need to build our children to be more resilient. But what can we do? What are those things? Because sometimes you send your kids to coding school and there's issue of molestation here. You're scared of so many factors, even abroad. So you're scared. You don't have those children around you per time. You're afraid. So how do you, as a parent, make those kind of decisions?
So when COVID first hit, for example, one of the things that, so I run United for Kids Foundation, but it's for children from low-income families. But when COVID first hit, and my nieces and nephews, they couldn't travel, nobody could go anywhere. So I decided to gather all of them online. And I put them in a boot camp. And some of their friends from their schools were also there, and I could see very simple things that I could help correct. For example, there was one boy, he came to the class online the first time, and he wore a do-rag. And I said, no, you don't make a first impression that way. You don't. So, but his parents were there when he was showing up in a place, in a space, with odd people in a do-rag. And then this same boy, maybe 2 or 3 days after, his dad sends me an email and says, oh, so-so-so's netbook is spoiled. and we've sent it to this and this place. And I said, let him email me himself, not you. Let him take excuse, and then we will talk about how he can log on from the phone. We need to stop hovering. We just need to stop it. We need to let kids be able to think.
For themselves. Let's go to a quick break. I'm loving this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Fantastic. Let me come to you, Bill Biagilus. Your question.
Yeah, okay, let me go. So I want to disagree a bit in comparison with the Nigerian children and American children, because you're sounding like they all have it together. The American kids have it together, but we still have a lot of them commit suicide. We still have a lot of them cyberbullying, drugs, and all that. So if their parents are more intentional in raising them, why do we still have them go through all of these vices that even our children are just even beginning to get into?
That's such an excellent point. So I always say that Nigerians, we have to be very mindful of the Oyinbo people that we're copying. So when I'm talking about these American children, I'm talking about the ones I want my kids to be like.
Okay.
I'm talking about the ones who are on honor roll. I'm talking about the ones who are making changes. I'm talking about the ones who, I want my kids to aspire to be like.
Okay.
America is 360 million people with, I'm sorry, maybe half of them crazy. So I'm not talking about those ones. It was when I got to America and I started working that I realized that my boss, his kids don't watch television. Because one day I was talking about, American Idol. And my boss said, I watch it weekend, I catch up weekend. I was like, why? She said, because I don't let my kids watch TV during the week. I was like, Then I started realizing this was very, very common. They have device rules, but again, these are the Americans that they're not on MTV Cribs.
Oh, we don't see those ones.
You don't see those ones, but eventually you see them when they become the governor of a state. You see them when they get to the house. They're the ones that, as soon as summer hits, the kids are in Congress as early as 15, 16, sitting down and shadowing lawmakers. So, of course, when they now go to university and study political science, and they come back and they know what they're talking about.
National Assembly open to
for people to come and shadow.
Actually, yes, it is actually. It's just, for me, I feel that it's about you going to ask if there's opportunity. If you remember, Mommy Jamiloju. Jamiloju is someone from my children's school. When he was in primary school, as at 9, he was working in a library during holidays. He was the library bookkeeper. He likes to read. His parents said, we're not going to buy you all the books, but if you work part-time in the library, you help them arrange the library books. You can read all the books you want to read. All the storybooks are available for you. But he had to work there at the time. That level of exposure, we're not giving as many children as possible. And I think that if you walk up to the National Assembly and you write a letter to your representative and say,
National Assembly is far. Let's talk about per state. So what you just mentioned is great. So you have lawmakers who then who can mentor these children because they're in their shadows, watching them and learning from them.
There's another angle I want to take because Nigeria is hard.
Yes.
Already.
Everybody works really hard to make some kind of wealth.
Yes.
You now make the wealth. My children must not suffer.
Yes.
I walked the streets of the Lagos State. My children must not work. So you give them the comfort of life.
Yes.
You take them abroad for summer holidays. You don't want them to go to camp.
Yes.
Go and see the buildings. Look at Burj Al Arab. Dream big. Just have that dream imagination. Come back to Nigeria and know that, okay, you are a bit better. You're the 1% of the 1%. Now, is that damaging? Or is that actually helping the child to have a bigger vision of life? Okay, it's more than down for yellow buses. It's more than a Okada rider. There's a life outside this somewhere else. So how do we ensure that we balance it, as you said earlier?
So I agree with you that if you've hustled, your kids should enjoy. However, do you want to raise consumers or producers? Because consumers are broke under accumulators of wealth. And I want you all to read this book, all your audience, The Millionaire Next Door. It's a profile of American millionaires, real millionaires, and read how they raise their kids. Now, you who wants your kids to spend the 3 weeks going to Burj Al Arab, taking pictures in the Dubai waterfall and all of this stuff, you're raising a consumer. However, if that is the exception, if they know that, oh, after Monday to Friday and we've, brainstormed with kids, I am going to go to Boj Arab on Saturday, that is novelty. And that's what you want to keep your kids.
That's the balance.
Yes, you want to keep your kids hungry. Because if they know that, as we're here now, anything we're going to do, exactly, there's no fire. And eventually, your kids are going to be poorer than you. It's not a curse. It is a fact. I'm an accountant, so I see this.
So that mentality is...
Look, only 30% of people who are rich, who raise their kids rich, are able to continue, retain the wealth. Only 30%. So what part do you want to be? And if you look at those 30%, what are you doing? Bill Gates gave his daughter a ranch, a mansion in New York State. Yeah, it's not spoiling his child, but he didn't buy his child that mansion and that ranch as soon as that child was small. That child still understood that they needed to work. And we can do it at home, here. We have libraries, poor people. Let your kids go and volunteer.
So I want to bring it into rewarding a child.
Yes.
Creating that reward system.
Yes.
I feel that children should earn something. Like create a system where you get a voucher for school today. If you do this well, you will get another voucher. How do we create that reward system? How do we find the balance in creating reward system?
Excellent, excellent. So I came to Nigeria with my nieces, right? And they are half American, half Nigerian.
Okay.
And they said, we want to take treasure boxes to your kids at United for Kids in Nigeria. And me, the Nigerian and me, I didn't understand what they meant until we met in the airport and they showed me the treasure boxes. So I said, oh, tell me about this. How did you come up with this? So it's a box full of like candy, toys, all kinds of things. So my niece, who is 9, said, in our class, this thing is right there. You can see it in the class. Once you answer a question correctly, the teacher can say, go get something from the treasure box.
Okay.
If you're well behaved, you have a reward. But if a child knows that I can just hop into the toy room and take something,
take anything.
You're killing that child.
Let's go back to the issue of resilience, because a lot of kids are suicidal. I think you said something earlier about the fact that children who go abroad, they're smart, they're brilliant, but when they hit small resistance like this, they break. It seems that many of them might actually have issues within the educational system. How can Nigerians who are sending their children abroad have a better understanding? How do I prepare my child who's going to be living abroad for the very first time alone? How do I raise that child, or how do I ensure that child is resilient to hit issues abroad?
So I went to school in Nigeria up to undergraduate. Yes. So I'm not knocking the Nigerian education system when I say this. But our education system is very deficient because it doesn't raise people who are able to think.
We say the same thing here every day.
It doesn't. So it raises I was best graduating student in my faculty. Imagine. So, it raises you to know the content. And then I got to grad school in America and I struggled. I struggled. And that is because in America, for example, part of my syllabus, as I'm putting together my syllabus, is that you have to participate, you have to talk in the class. And you cannot talk nonsense. That's 10% of the grade. And in Nigeria, when you're in class, it's like empty barrels make the most noise. So you know the stuff, let your grade speak for you. No, that's not how it works. So that is a culture shock for most of our kids. Secondly, when I go to my class next week, in my business management class, the first topic is, I'm giving you 10 minutes, go on Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, and tell me how companies are coping with the COVID-19 pandemic in the 21st century. These are second-year students, so many of them are like 18, 19 years old. And then after 10 minutes, I call on you, cold call, and you have to make a presentation. You have to think on your feet. So if you know that your child's destination is abroad, you have to understand how the system is there and start to prepare your child. Because it's unfair to the child for you to take them, and throw them into that system.
Nigerian system.
Yes, you have to just learn.
Let's bring this home. Maybe some of us are raising to send. Me, I'm raising just to make it here first.
Yes.
So you can move if you choose.
Yes.
But this is where I am.
You're like my dad.
How do we raise our children? Just yesterday, my daughter goes for weekend boarding for her Tafis classes, and she came and just said, I don't want to go. This is almost the 100,000 naira weekend alone.
Yes.
And you don't want to go. Okay. Who is bullying you? The first question, is somebody bullying you? Because I need to see the person's parents. Yes. And then eventually it was just because I'm not feeling some group of girls, my own daughter. And, you know, so how do we raise these children to understand this environment and survive here? Because I just think I'm the role model. She'll see me and she'll survive. But
she may not pick
how
you.
do we be intentional? In what language, what words do we put it to a child, you know, a 9? She's 9. Okay, a 9-year-old. How do I put it to a 9-year-old that, you know, this is how important survival, making it, being successful and fulfilling purpose here is?
Okay, so on the issue of your daughter, I have 2 responses to this. On the issue of your daughter, so me, that I was a Nigerian before, I would have said, is somebody bullying you? But let me tell you what happened. So when we got to the Nigerian airport, you people know how the Nigerian airport can be very overwhelming. So my nephew, he's 5. He's 4, going to be 5. I could see that he was just disturbed. So I bent down to his level and I said, what's the problem? I didn't say, are you angry? I didn't say, are you tired? Let me give you a chair. No, I asked him to label the feelings. So he said, I'm sad. I said, why are you sad? So he was telling me why he was sad, and I was giving him, you know, he said, I'm hot. I said, where we're going, there's air conditioning. So meaning that your suffering is short. He said, there are too many people. I said, we'll soon be out of here in about 5-10 minutes. So he's the one telling me what's wrong. How he's feeling. I'm not the one telling him how he should be feeling. This is something that I've learned in America. That you know, it's like, yes, what is wrong? Why are you not going? Yeah, blah, blah, you start to shout. That's the first thing. Second thing is, it's also very important to show our kids perspective. When my nieces come to visit me in America, they know they're going to go to the men's shelter. Men who do not have work visa, who do not need work visa, who are not refugees, who are American men, who some of them have gone to Harvard and have fallen on hard times, they go serve them food. I make them go serve them food in a Catholic men's shelter. So that they understand. They understand. Because your kids
what can happen if you fail?
Yes. You cannot tell your kids, oh, the future belongs to the hungry, and that's it. When they don't know the hungry.
You must show the picture of...
Let me, one of the problems I have, being a Montessorian, there were certain things like what you're saying now we had to go through. I had to work with kids for over 5 years. So we know some of these things, and there are some schools that already prepare these children for those who are traveling abroad. I worked in one of them. But the issue now is if you're married to a partner who doesn't have the same values in child upbringing as you. So last week I picked up a book, Boundaries with Kids. I've read it before, and I had to pick it up again because I just felt like I don't want to shout this shout I'm shouting. I have these skills, but Oga is not helping me. He has a different perspective of life, and so we clash. How do you get your other partner to understand that we need to institute this boundaries if you want to raise, because I was having a conversation, I told him, our parents got away with raising us absent-mindedly. We will not get away this generation. If you are not, if you are absent-minded with your children, you go here.
Yes.
So how do you get your partner to be on the same boat, especially when it comes to punishments, rewards, and all those things we need to start putting together?
So this is a very tough question. Chai, people not preparing for this one. But I would say that so I'm married, and this is my second marriage. And in my first marriage, actually I was thinking about this morning, exactly 11 years, 1 month ago, I had a stillbirth. I lost the child that I was supposed to have in that marriage. And this morning, as I was getting ready for this, I was thinking, thank God I didn't have a child with that man.
Wow.
Because if I did, I don't know how I would co-parent with him. So, since this is Nigeria, and people find themselves in this situation, right? I would say, we do what we know how to do best, pray.
Hey.
Because God is the turner of hearts. But if you are able to show your partner examples of what your kids might turn to, if you guys show 2 faces in front of them, then I think that will help. Okay. Because sometimes we are created to be forgetful. This is your partner.
Let me give you an example of something that she could say. So a partner, for example, believes that you have to spank a child. Okay. You must beat this child because they beat him, and he has turned out very well. And you are saying, I can have a conversation with this child. Because that's what the Oyinbo 30% does to the children. Maybe some of them spank, but the point is that we don't want to copy and paste. We want to copy based on what suits our own child. So how do you, when your parents say, your partner say, spank, you don't say, motivational speakers, I should not speak, I should not spank. How do I find a middle ground?
So I think whether you find a middle ground or not, the child must never know that there is no middle ground.
Oh,
that's the first thing. That's the only.
That's risky. That's risky.
No.
They're gonna beat your PK.
Yes, but you even want to fight about it behind closed doors because once your kids see a crack,
they take advantage.
They're not old enough to process that crack. You are, but they're not. So even if you're going to beat yourself inside the room, beat yourselves. But whoever has done something,
the other person should stand by it.
should stand by it. So that's why I said your next thing is to pray.
Hey,
because there's no way you and your spouse are raised in two different households.
Yes.
So you're not going to agree. But as long as there aren't fundamental differences, then I say the rest you can pray about it.
So I want to take us to the fact that because of the cost of living, the hustle spirits here that we don't have a choice about because you want to give your children a better life, you want a better life, many parents are forced to work so hard that they barely have time
for their children.
And really, if you say, it's easy for us to say, oh, make the sacrifices, your children need you, but you see the bills and you know you need to make that money. So how can a parent watching right now, knowing that there's a lacuna, but cannot resign from the job to face this parenting thing full time, how can you make little time count? And what are the core things you should do with the little time you have with your children?
So I will tap into my faith to say this. The Quran says that wealth and children have been given to you as a trust.
Oh.
That's such a heavy assignment as a trust. And it's left to you how you want to discharge that trust. But most of the things that we really, really want after, I want my child to go to a better school. Really? And you went to a Jacob school and you turned out okay. Sometimes we're not really, really thinking long term. And I'm not the one to tell anybody how to make a choice, right? But I want to say think well about the trust that you've been handed and how you are discharging that trust. Because the only thing the human soul needs is to eat, to sleep, and to breathe. Everything else is luxury. Everything else is luxury. Oh, but my child is going to enter bus. It's luxury. But my child is going to go to a school where the teacher doesn't speak good English. That's luxury. You have to be very mindful. When you're making the trade-off, you know, I think what we don't do enough as Nigerians is that we're not intentional. We make very, oh my God, I'm frustrated right now and I need to, yes, very hasty. But think long term. Think about the implication of this decision you're about to make in the next 10 years.
So let's talk about United for Kids. This is something that you've done for a long time. What's the difference? What do you see in those children, and you see in the sheltered, pampered children that, you'd like to bring out there? And how long have you done it?
So this is our 20th year. Wow. I started United for Kids Foundation the very year I moved to America because I was missing Nigeria. And I was like, I just gathered my 6 Nigerian classmates saying, you can give me $50. So we raised $50 and we sent it to Nigeria. And we've just been evolving since. And we're still all volunteers. Like, I'm here on my own time. We're all volunteers. But we have paid staff in Nigeria. However, somebody came to our library yesterday. We have a library in front of ExxonMobil headquarters. So this person came into the school and she bought books that her kids are not using anymore. And she called me, she said, I saw hope when I went to the kids. The kids had a presentation about Hausa culture yesterday. That one kid made 2, and the kids in that school, many of them are either housemates themselves or children of migads in the VI area. So we're not talking about people who made 2 because they had extra money. They made it because they wanted to come and show. And the child, my friend also said, I could see a sense of ownership in the library club kids, that they own this space. For me, what I see in the United for Kids Foundation is a glimpse of hope that Nigeria will be better. If we can have enough of these kids who come out and say, you know what, somebody helped me. One child missed a whole first term because their family sent him to the East. They said, no, he has to come and learn some trade, something. So, but we then fought for him to come back. So he had missed the first term of school. Second term, he made up for the first term and the second term. And when we asked him that, how could you even do that? He said, you fought for me to come back. The least I could do was to show you that I'm grateful.
Wow. That's sweet.
So this is hope. There's hope in those spaces. And I want you to take your kids there to any of these spaces and let them interact with these kids and see that the future really belongs to the hungry.
Awesome. Let me ask you the issue of character.
Yes.
I deal with a lot of young people, and I wouldn't use the word that just popped into my head, but I am not happy with what I see.
Yeah.
I see people who claim to be hungry for success, but they do not have the character to stay. They do not have the character to be humble. They do not have the character to follow. They are very entitled. They come into your space and they want the world to worship them. And I see it as lack of parenting. And I don't make excuses, because you hear excuses. I wasn't raised from a very functional home. You know, I had to raise myself at some point. But I see people who are raised from, so to speak, functional homes, and they're still not giving.
What are we missing?
What are we missing? What is that thing we need to start doing?
It's not just Nigeria.
Everywhere?
It's everywhere. I teach first years and second years in college. And the first thing I say, because, okay, in Nigeria, you can see somebody comes into your space. They don't look at you and say, look at her, she's black. I don't need to talk to her. But I have to have that. I step into my class, and they're like, wait, she's in that religion where they're always killing people? She has an accent, so she's not from here. She's black, and she's female. So
the odds, I guess.
Yes. So I know, but the first day of class, when I step into my class, I say, some of you are going to struggle, and I'm here for that struggle. I'm going to help you through it. You're going to struggle because this is the first time a Muslim, immigrant, black woman is going to tell you no. And you're going to struggle, and I'm going to be here for it. So they know when I start blabbing up in Nigeria, they're like, oh my God, she's mad. So, but I think it is about us, adults, setting boundaries. Because they come into your space, and maybe not you, maybe you look, oh, their parents is so person, I might need their favor tomorrow, so I'm not going to call out their bad behavior. And that's what is spoiling out of our schools.
Absolutely. We have to wrap up. Let me just take a few messages, and then we'll wrap up with this.
Someone was like, I really agree with this guest. Daisy said, I had to learn a lot of things on my own. Apparently, she's abroad. Then someone, Adri sometimes says, projects, but it is projects discipline and execution within a frame of time. And
any other thing, Nima? Okay, we have to wrap up. But is there any final thing you want to tell us that you're working on so that we can, you know, pay attention to it?
Fortunately, not much, but I hope that your guest and you can pay our kids a visit.
We'd love to.
Yes, please. We have libraries in Ojodu Primary School by the road safety office. We have libraries in front of ExxonMobil, in front of Eco Hotel, the schools that are there, and in Shomolu. Please come and read to the kids. They want to see you. Awesome. They want to hear from you. They want to feel like the world is going to be a little bit closer.
When do you plan to start the library in Festac?
In Festac.
Yes, so
all right, we have to wrap up, guys. Thank you so much, Dr. Fajigbesi Balogun, for being here. We really appreciate you. We learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
If you did not get anything from this show, let me just give you a few recaps. Okay. Number one, future belongs to the hungry.
Yes.
Let your children be hungry. Because if not, the future, we don't want to raise consumers. We want to raise producers.
Yes.
We need to stop hovering over our children. Give them space. Stop that. Keep your kids hungry. Ask your child to label their feelings. Very, very important at all times. And read The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Next Door. Thank you. See, we've learned from you. Thank you so much. All right, that's all we can take on the show today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.